Hello, Renee Cage Watson, CEO of Empowered by Courage. And I want to talk to you today about balance. I work with busy moms. I'm a busy mom myself. And there is so much stress and pressure on working parents, especially moms. They have to juggle it all. There is the pressure of doing it all and doing it perfect, which leads to exhaustion. And to add to that, this pandemic has really highlighted the challenges that working moms are enduring. There continuously are challenges in the workforce. Moms are having to leave the workforce for various reasons. There's challenges with childcare. Perhaps there's single parenting, so you're doing it all on your own. Or you're in a relationship and then there's strain. The relationship, there's unstable, there's instability there. And moms have been juggling, multitasking for years. But what has highlighted during this pandemic is that multitasking, for one, is overrated, is unrealistic, is not sustainable, and moms aren't doing well. This has really been an impact. I understand, as a busy mom, as a busy working professional, the guilt that moms feel, the exhaustion that moms feel, the sense of fatigue that moms feel. And I have incorporated several strategies in my life to help me bring balance into all of the things that I am taking care of. And so that's why I wanted to do this special video series. This is the pandemic series of work-life balance. I'm going to be sharing with you 7 strategies that's going to help reduce your stress and help you find a healthy balance in your life. Because guess what? You deserve it. See you soon. Several months ago, I gave into a rage. I yelled and shrieked and just really went off on my daughter. She was on her way to college, and we were in a disagreement. There had been lots of stress. This is right in the midst of the pandemic. And after that exchange, I was filled with so much guilt. Here I am, my daughter's about to go off to college, and I said some really not nice things to her. It consumed me for days. Now, sure, I apologized and we had a conversation, but that guilt stayed with me. And I had shared with a colleague who's also a mental health professional, and we got to talking about the situation. And she reminded me, self-compassion. Where was my self-compassion for myself? And that is what this video is about, self-compassion. Because sometimes you just have to give yourself a break. And oftentimes we don't. As moms, as mothers, as women, we have been socialized socialize to have compassion for others, to care for others. But it's extremely foreign for us to give that back to ourselves. So I have a question for you. When a friend comes to you and asks you for some support, or tell you that, that they messed up and they're just feeling bad about something, or they are stuck on something and they just need some advice, how do you respond to them? Do you respond to them negatively? Do you put them down? Do you make them feel more guilty? Or do you uplift them? Do you encourage them? Do you show compassion for them? And that's what self-compassion is. Giving that same love and empathy that you would to a friend, to yourself. Now there's 3 elements to self-compassion, according to Kirsten Neff, the world-renowned self-compassion expert. Now the first component is self-kindness. This is the ability to accept that we all have failings and difficulties, but to talk to yourself with kindness and acceptance, and not being angry and frustrated in times of difficulties, and accepting inadequacies with kindness. Now the second is common humanity. This is the acknowledgement that we all make mistakes. We all have difficulties. That is just part of the human experience. And the third is mindfulness. This is having a balanced approach to your emotions, to your negative feelings, so that they're not exaggerated or suppressed. This is really having a non-judgmental viewpoint about your circumstances, your thoughts and feelings. Just being non-judgmental. Because we judge ourselves so much. We judge. Now, how many times have you said, I'm not a good enough parent? How many times have you said, I am not doing a good enough job? Something's wrong. That is a faulty narrative. So it's time for you to start practicing self-compassion, letting go of the guilt, and knowing that you are doing a good job. You are doing the best you can. You are doing the best you can. So remind yourself, have compassion for yourself, and know that you are doing the best you can. And release it. Release that guilt. Because when you practice self-compassion, the anxiety reduces. You're able to release that guilt you're feeling, and that stress dissipates. So, know that you matter. Know that you are worthy and deserving of your self-compassion and your self-love. Hello, Renee Cage Watson, CEO of Empowered by Courage. And I want to talk to you today about balance. I work with busy moms. I'm a busy mom myself. And there is so much stress and pressure on working parents, especially moms. They have to juggle it all. There is the pressure of doing it all and doing it perfect. which leads to exhaustion. And to add to that, this pandemic has really highlighted the challenges that working moms are enduring. There continuously are challenges in the workforce. Moms are having to leave the workforce for various reasons. There's challenges with childcare. Perhaps there's single parenting, so you're doing it all on your own. Or you're in a relationship and then there's strain. The relationship, there's unstable, there's instability there. And moms have been juggling, multitasking for years. But what has highlighted during this pandemic is that multitasking, for one, is overrated, is unrealistic, is not sustainable, and moms aren't doing well. This has really been an impact. I understand, as a busy mom, as a busy working professional, the guilt that moms feel, the exhaustion that moms feel, the sense of fatigue that moms feel. And I have incorporated several strategies in my life to help me bring balance into all of the things that I am taking care of. And so that's why I wanted to do this special video series. This is the pandemic series of work-life balance. I'm going to be sharing with you 7 strategies that's going to help reduce your stress and help you find a healthy balance in your life. Because guess what? You deserve it. The reality is the feelings that many of us are feeling in response to the pandemic is not unilaterally positive, right? There has been a great sense of grief. People are dealing with depression. There's a great sense of fear and anxiety. And for some, there's really a sense of a loss of hope. Now, we tend, in general, because talking about feelings can be difficult for people, we tend to have a tendency to suppress and minimize our feelings and not really deal with them. And as a mental health professional, I know through my own training and my own experience that suppressing your emotions does not result in good outcomes because it comes out in different ways. And really what many are feeling right now, they're not feeling okay. And so that's what this video is about. It's really about you accepting your emotions. Accepting how you feel. And knowing that it is okay to not be okay. We often are working so hard to fix it, right? Instead of sometimes just staying there, leaning into it, and being okay. And for grief, there's a cycle. The 5 stages of grief, some say there's 7 stages of grief. And I believe that that's really what a lot of us are experiencing, responding to this pandemic. There are really some stages of grief that we're experiencing. There was we were angry, we were in denial about it, we were bargaining, and then there's this level of acceptance. And so I encourage you to just lean into and accept whatever feelings that you are feeling. Your feelings are okay. You are okay. And sometimes we have this tendency to try to push away from our feelings of sadness, or try to be overly positive. And sometimes when you do that, that just really makes you get more depressed or more anxious and feeling, because you have to be authentic with your feelings. You have your mind knows that you're trying to trick me. So the more that you're authentic with yourself and able to be honest about what you're feeling right now and in each moment, the better that you're able to roll through it. But the more we're resistant to it, the more that we stay stuck there. So know that your emotions are okay. They're yours. Accept them. Embrace them. Be non-judgmental of them. And know that it is okay to not be okay. Because, hey, we are in a pandemic. So this goes back again to practicing self-compassion and giving yourself grace. Now, I don't know how many of you are 70s babies. I'm kind of aging myself. But I remember that there was a commercial many years ago, Ajali, when she said she can bring home the bacon, Ajali, fry it up in the pan, Ajali, and never, never forget to romance, something like that. I can't remember it all. But basically, it was this onset of the working woman, right? We, the women, were in the workforce, and this was a jingle about this superwoman, right? Superwoman, superwoman. She can do it all. Guess what? That commercial was a lie. She cannot do it all. She wasn't designed to do it all. Take off the cape, Superwoman. This video series is about asking for help and accepting it. This is all about asking for help. Oftentimes, we don't ask for help, right? When we don't ask for help, we burn out. When we don't ask for help, we get resentful. When we don't ask for help, we're no fun to be around. Many, many years ago, when I was coming up the ranks and my corporation, I read this book, and it was called Lean In. I think it was the CEO of Facebook. And I tell you, after I read that book, I had an instant attitude with my husband. And I was like, some things need to change around here. I'm not doing all of this by myself anymore. Now, there was a little resistance during that time. But what we decided and compromised on is that we were going to get somebody to come in and do some of these things. It's going to get somebody to come in and do housekeeping. And that was a tremendous help, because I was tired trying to do it all. I was working, doing, picking up my daughter from school, dinner, cleaning up. Too much, right? It's too much. It's too much. That's part of this whole balance thing. We were not supposed to be doing all of it. We got into the workforce, and then we had all of the other things we had to do in the household, right? But I say no. No, we don't. It's time to ask for help. Now, sure, you may get some resistance, like I did initially, but you have to continue to push that envelope. Because guess what? When you do, you are creating more space and time for you. You are creating more space and time for you. So ask for what you want and accept that help. I do a challenge quarterly, and it's called Delegate Like a Boss. And in this challenge, I go through the steps and strategies on how to, for one, identify the things that you can get off your list. And number two, know where you can delegate the rest to. Now, there's going to be some things that's important that you're going to want to do or can do, but there's a lot of things that you can delegate out. Or, and I say delegate out, that's like get paid, pay someone to do, right? So there are all of these service-based opportunities like Thumbtack, TaskRabbit, can do meal prepping for you. You have Instacart. I love Instacart. I never go to the grocery store anymore, right? There are, I have, like I said, a maid service. I have a client who brought in someone 3 days a week to prepare meals, so she can have time with her family when she got home. So she's not so exhausted. It's going to what I call is the second shift, right? After work, and then you come home and then you're on another shift. And then there's no more time for you or anyone else at the end of doing all those things. So sis, it's called delegate. Hire people. There's somewhere that you can look in your budget and figure out, where can I pay someone to do these things? How can I involve the family to pick up some of these pieces and do some of these things? It's delegating. If I just stopped doing this, would anyone notice? Would anyone care? Sometimes we just hoard things like, oh, I have to do it. No, stop being a control freak and release some of that. Train, do a follow-up, and release. And that's one of the things that people learn in the delegation challenge, is that others get inspired when you support them in learning something new, a new skill set. This is like a win-win situation. This is releasing some of that time that you have allocated doing things and getting more time into your time bank. Okay? So, ask for help. Say no. Take some things off your list. Take some things off your pile. Delegate it out. Pay somebody. Free yourself up. Ask for help. We don't ask for help. We just don't. We want to suffer silently, and then we're disgruntled, and then we're agitated. Oh, sis, I know all about it. I used to be her. Until I realized that I am a better person when I don't have so much stuff on my plate. I'm not more successful. I'm not all of these things just because I have all of these things on my plate to do. No, that doesn't make me a more successful person. It makes me an exhausted person, and I'm not my full self. So give yourself permission and know that it's necessary to get assistance. You can't do it all by yourself. You're going to burn yourself out. You're probably already burned out. So take a look. take a look at your list and see where can you hand this off to someone, or where can you eliminate it altogether. Take some time and really do an assessment, an evaluation of your time. A time audit. It's one of the things that we do. We do a time audit. So do a time audit and see where is that time just sucking away? I'm almost for certain you can find the way to get some of that time back if you release some of the things that's off your plate. You have to lower your expectations. Now, I know your mom told you don't lower your expectations, right? I know we've been taught that. But guess what? We are in a global pandemic. So, you will burn out trying to hold on to your old standards. You will burn out, I will say that again, trying to hold on to those old standards. We're living in a different way of life, right? So there has to be some adjustments. Your expectations have to shift to accommodate what life is like right now. Some of you may be working from home, and you're juggling also with your child home. You may have been doing some homeschooling. The way you did your day when you were in the office is going to be a little bit different the way your day looks while you're working from home and your child is in class as well, right? Maybe your child is at school and you're working from home, but you have other types of expectations on you. This is a moving, ever evolving situation. We've never been in a global pandemic. So it's okay to at days feel like you don't know what you're doing. It's okay to feel like you don't have enough. It's okay to feel like you just don't know what to do. Because guess what? It's a lot of us out here feeling like that. But one of the ways that's causing some of this suffering is this expectation that you have, the standard that you have is way up here. This juggling everything. Some of these balls are going to fall. Or you're just going to take the balls and sit them down and deal with this ball over here, right? Because one thing that I have learned, again, is multitasking is overrated. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. And so, again, this expectation that we have to be chipper, that's unrealistic. We're in a pandemic. We're dealing with grief. You may be dealing with some lost family members. You may have lost some family members. There have been maybe some other loss that you have experienced. We are grieving not being able to go out and socialize the way we used to, maybe travel, visit family, just go out and play like our kids used to just go out and play regularly. There's just so much is different about our lives. And so what helps reduce your stress is to reduce what you have in your brain, what's on your plate. Because that's one of the things I teach in my program, Exhausted to Empowered, is to remove some of these things off your plate. Identifying the priorities and letting all of the other stuff go. It is okay to not do it all because you can't do it all. It's impossible. And this whole thing about this balance, because I talk about work-life balance, but it's almost in this way, it's a myth. Balance is what you make. It's how you make it. It's not that you're going to have these even slices of pies for your work, for your health, for your finances, for your relationships. They're not going to be equally sliced pies each day. Each week, you may have to focus on some other things another month down the line. And that is okay. At the end of the day, you get to decide. Those expectations will keep you filled with guilt. And as mothers, we are already carrying guilt. We are socialized to feel like we have to do it all. We are socialized to feel like if we don't do it, it won't get done or done right. So lowering your expectations of yourself, of what all you can do, is necessary. It's necessary for your well-being. It's necessary. I'll say that one more time. It is necessary for your well-being. Each day, look and see what's on your list. Is it necessary? Do you absolutely have to do it? Is there something that you can delegate out? Get rid of. Release the guilt. Release the high expectations of yourself. And know that, again, you are doing a good enough job. You are in the perfect place, and it's okay where you are. And know that saying no is not selfish. Sometimes you have to say no to yourself. No, I am not going to add that to my plate. No, I do not have to do that. No, it is okay that it's not done 100%. Give yourself the grace and lower those expectations. Okay, so this is a very serious matter at hand. This segment is going to set you free. So the word that I am talking about starts with a B. What's my favorite word? Boundaries. Ha ha ha. I thought I was going to say something else. I'm from Oakland. I represent, but no. Boundaries. Boundaries. Because boundaries, as women, oftentimes we have loose boundaries. We have loose boundaries because we don't want to disappoint people. We don't want to seem like we're not a team player. We don't want to seem like we're not being helpful. We don't want to seem like we're being selfish. We just don't want to be judged. We don't want all of these things, right? But what happens is when we have poor boundaries, we get crushed in the end. We end up feeling not happy because boundaries protect us. And I'm going to talk about different types of boundaries. So there's, for one, boundaries. The good way to creating boundaries is this one little small little word. And it's N-O. No. It's a complete sentence. We don't want to say no to people. Sometimes we fear missing out, right? Or like I said, some of the other reasons. But when we don't create boundaries, then we shrink what's left for ourselves, right? And then we get into this pattern of feeling overwhelmed, feeling obviously last on our list, feeling resentful, our health starts to be impacted. Our mental health is impacted. Sometimes our relationships are impacted because there's this unresolved irritation or resentment or something that's going on. Or so boundaries. And with this pandemic, the boundaries have been blurred, right? So some of us are working from home, right? So those boundaries are blurred where your workspace is also your home space, right? And so we have to do better or create better ways in separating those spaces. For instance, when you're working from home, carving out a dedicated space helps you have boundaries. It's like husband, partner, kids, dog, cat, whoever. Sometimes the cats won't. I don't have a cat, but I know cats jump around. But my dog, she likes to cross boundaries too. But setting boundaries about your space, like this is my workstation. This is where I can find all of my things that I need to work. My pencils, my pens, my whatever, right? My highlighter, my notebook, all of your things that you need, right? Your laptop, there. And it's like this, you can create like a imaginary door. Like, hey, this is my space. Don't cross it. During these times, it's like setting boundaries, like during work. And I understand sometimes with smaller children and so forth, it's you have to be flexible and a little fluid, right? But for the most part, most people can understand a boundary, right? And sometimes you have to repeat yourself a couple of times for them to get it because this is all new for people, right? That's okay. Repeating is okay. Sometimes people have to hear it a couple of times to get it, right? Also, having a dedicated workspace is a good way of creating your boundaries. But also, this is also about like dividing, having good transitions. Like, so at the end of your workday, right? So typically, if you used to have to commute, right? And now you don't. Typically, there was some type of transition, right? For you to decompress or maybe listen to some music on your way from work to home or what have you. But now it's just like right at home and you're right into something else. I don't know about you, but when my daughter was younger, and even now, but she's in college now. But when my daughter was younger and I used to drive, we used to come home from work, driving and picking her up from school, and hit the door, right? Get in the house. I used to be like, hey, before you ask me to do anything for you, I need some time. I need to decompress. I need to go in the bathroom, close the door, and I need to sit in there for a minute, right? Don't be asking me what's for dinner. Don't be asking me no. I need a minute. And so it's the same thing. When you're working from home, give yourself some time for some transition. Give yourself some time to transition. One good way, so instead of like, you had a commute maybe, so use that time, maybe go outside and go for a brisk walk. Just something, right? Some transition time, and I jumped actually to transition time, but I want to pull it on back. One of the other ways for boundaries from working from home or just working during this pandemic is ensuring that you take breaks. So say for instance, you're working in the office and oftentimes we have what we call the water cooler breaks, right? You get up and you chit chat, you go to a colleague's desk or cubicle or whatever, office, you talk for a minute, check in, how was the weekend, how's the kids, blah, 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 right? Check out the last episode of Insecure or whatever you saw, but the news, but something to break it up. Well, now that we are home, you may not have that, right? So you have to schedule your breaks. Do not sit and just hammer through the day. Don't do that. What they are finding is that people are working an average of 3 more hours now that they're working from home. One may say, "Oh, I'm being more productive. I'm getting more." No, people. What they're finding is people are burning out more because of the inability to separate blurred lines. Okay. Yes, there's this work balance where we're able to maybe spend more time at home, but then we're also kind of spending a lot more time at work, right? Not shutting down that laptop at the end of the workday. Sneakingly looking at some work emails a little bit later after your work hours have ended or on the weekend. You know, maybe you may feel guilty like, oh, I did some laundry during my work hours, and so I need to do some look. Be careful with that, right? Be careful with your blurred lines. So scheduling your breaks. One of the things is I'm a big thing about scheduling. Because what was it? I can't remember. What it was one coach trainer. I can't remember. I think it was Preston Smiles said it. He said, "What gets scheduled gets done." And I so believe this. So I schedule my meditation throughout the day. Like I put 5-minute meditation. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because sometimes we can just get so caught up into what we're doing that we forget to take a minute, take a break. So those are practicing boundaries, your own boundaries for yourself. If you don't create them for yourself, others won't respect them either, right? So you got to respect your own boundaries. Another is establishing a routine. This will help. Like we have a routine, you have these cues about getting ready, going to work, all of these. Establishing routines is the same thing when we are working from home or working throughout this pandemic. Routines gives us a sense of control. Now, sure, things happen out of our control, but having a schedule helps us with controlling the things that we can't control. So making sure you have an established routine, right? When you take your break, when you take your lunch, right? When you check your emails, maybe. Some of you may have some autonomy of how you can create that. If you don't, talk with your supervisor on like, hey, I would like to shift my time a little bit different to be more effective here. Advocate for yourself. Boundaries. If somebody's sending you work at the end of the boundaries. Do not be tempted to be like, oh, I'm just going to. No. Shut that computer off. Boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. It's my favorite B word. It's my favorite B word. Okay? You got to practice it because that is what helps sustain you. When you give everything away, there's nothing left for you. For you. So practice boundaries. All right, so I got a bonus for you. This is some time management hacks. One of the things that I do that works, and some of my clients have incorporated too, and they have shared that it is working for them as well, is that they create one day out of the week to map out their week. Now, typically I pick Sunday. It's my self-care day, but it's also my day for me to spend some time on how I want to intentionally spend my week, right? So one of the things that I've been working on is this book called A 12-Week Year. So it's not like you are creating your goals for the whole year. You are taking them down in bite-sized pieces and doing it in 12-week increments. So this way, it helps me stay more focused on the things that I need to do to move the marker a little bit more over, right? So, another thing that I do for my time management is that I create my list, like what are my priority things that I need to work on. I prioritize, I create a list of 6, no more than 6. And I do that the night before. And like I said, I plan out the whole week. But then the night before, I look again and say, all right, what are the 6 things that I'm going to work on? And sometimes depending on the category, maybe there's some stuff for personal, sometimes they're professional, and sometimes I have 2 lists. And I prioritize it, right? And so and this is the Ivy Lee method. So you're creating your list the night before. And so when you wake up in the morning, you already have your list, okay? So you won't have to think about, what supposed to be working on, what I'm supposed to do. No, this is getting rid of what is called the decision fatigue. You got to think about it, waste time thinking about it, right? It's all about the planning, right? So I know have tried this before. Have you laid out your clothes before? And then the next morning when you got up, bam, you just put it on, right? You didn't have to be up in the closet what am I going to wear? I don't like that. Let me put this on, take it off. Waste so much time in the morning. I mean, I used to waste time in the morning doing that, okay? I'm going to tell you another time sucker. Also, not just a time sucker, but also it will derail your health and your fitness goals, right? So if you're not, planning out your lunch or maybe even meal prepping, then what happens? Then you get to work, you don't have nothing to eat, so then you go out and you make a bad decision. You're buying some crap that you really didn't want to eat, right? It's because you wasn't prepared. Now, if you had your lunch, you'd be like, I got this. I'm going to eat my little lunch, right? You got your snacks. When you got no snack, then you go running around looking like I used to do that, running around at 2 o'clock in the afternoon looking for somebody's chocolate and candy and all of that to get me through the rest of the day. Instead of having my almonds and my good snacks and all of that, right? Or my apple. It's about the planning. Everything is about preparation, right? What they say, to plan to fail or you plan to succeed. Both of them there's consequences in it, right? So that is one of my greatest time management hacks. Another one that I like to use is the Eisenhower matrix, because this helps me really conceptualize what are the things that I have to do that's urgent, or is it important? Because sometimes we're like, I got to do this. Is it really? Do you really have to do it? Is it your urgency? Is it important? So it's just like this grid. Everything that's important is not urgent, and everything that's urgent is not important. And then it's just some things is neither. You can just get that crap right off your desk or your brain cells or whatever, right? So it's you strategically putting it in a quadrant. What's important? What's urgent? What's important, what's urgent, and then you decide. So maybe you have to do something, or maybe you can delegate it over to someone, or maybe you can get rid of it. But the notion is to do more of the things that's important. Things that's important is like your health, your fitness, your self-care. That's important. But oftentimes that crap gets pushed over to the wayside, and you don't do it. You're just working on the urgent shit. Excuse my French. The urgent stuff, right? So, really looking at how you can categorize and prioritize And what's some things you can eliminate or delegate altogether, right? But it's really like being in alignment of what's important to you. What is important to you? What is important to you? Because at the end of the day, that's really what matters. But you have to kind of get clear about that. The why it's important, why is it necessary? And then get in action and making sure that those things are showing up in your life on a daily basis. Like if it's important, then act like it's important, right? If your health is important, if you want to be, then make it a priority. Make it a priority. You are the priority. So create the things that are going to enhance your lifestyle, your well-being, your connections, and your bank account. That's important too. I know we're boss ladies, that's important too. But at the end of the day, you can't spend none of that money if you fall out. Okay? Okay. So plan your week, plan buffers to have fun, like chunks. Like make sure you have days and times that you don't do anything or you fill it up with stuff you want to do, meaning fun stuff, not work stuff, okay? Plan. Make sure that those times are protected. Make sure that your fun and your play time is protected. It is just as important as the other times. Rest is important. Play is important. All of that, right? That is what helps bring balance. Making sure that your life is about working around, like the work goes around your life, not the other way around. Work around your life, not your life around your work. Okay? So it's time to take it back to the most important thing, you. All right. Remember, oxygen mask on first. And what gets planned gets done. See you soon. Hello, how you doing? Renee Cage Watson, CEO of Empowered by Courage Coaching. And I'm a lifestyle architect and I help women find their purpose, live in their passion, construct the power within them to stand in their success while designing the balance that they deserve. Now I want to talk to you about your goals, redefining your goals, and having goals but feeling stuck. Like you see them, I see them, but they're so far. They're so far away. And I feel stuck. I'm just not motivated. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the resources. I don't. I hear that. I hear that often. These are some of the things my clients struggle with. They just not having fun. They are unfulfilled. They feel stuck. They feel like they're going 100 miles an hour and standing in place, like on the rat wheel, right? Just moving fast and going nowhere. Or just not moving at all, right? Just don't want to do it. So I have some tips for you. I have some tools, some strategies to help you get unstuck. Because you got to get in motion. I think one of the things that why we feel we're stuck because we don't have a clear perception about our current situation. We are looking at it through these, I would say, tainted glasses. You're not seeing yourself clearly. You're not seeing the possibilities clearly. There's a block there. There's a mental block there. There's that subconscious belief that's holding you back, right? And so one of the first ways of doing it is just really getting clear about what does your goal mean to you? What does that mean to you? What's the why behind it, right? Redefine success. Maybe you are defining your success because you're comparing it to somebody else's success or their success. But you don't know, sis, what they took to get where they at. Nor do you maybe even want to go through the same steps that they went to get to where they are. So be careful about the comparison trap. Don't compare yourself. Oh, I should be. Oh, there. Don't do that. Stay in your own lane. So it's like redefining your success, but really celebrating your wins, the small wins, because small wins add up. You have to celebrate all along the way. ABC, always be celebrating. Always celebrating yourself. We get so caught up in focusing on this big thing that we're not paying attention to what's right in front of us. What are the things that you are already crushing at? You already doing this, sis. Slow down and acknowledge yourself, okay? The other is monitor your progress. Sometimes we don't recognize how far we've come. Look back and see how. Sometimes I don't always recommend looking back there, but sometimes you got to look back to see how far you have gone. I love to use this analogy. Before I was injured, I used to love hiking and walking my hill, and you're so focused to getting to the top that sometimes you just got to stop and pause and turn around and see damn, I done came really far. Recognize that. Give yourself some acknowledgement, sis. The next one is you got to know your why. Again, know your why. Know your why. Make things a habit. Look at your habits. Make a vision board. Vision boards are always helpful. We have to visualize what we want. Visualize yourself there. And get smart. Get strategic. When you make goals, they have to be smart, right? I'm sure you've heard of SMART goals, right? The acronym SMART. If you haven't, that might also be a reason why you're feeling stuck, because you're not being efficient with your time. So you got to be strategic, okay? So you have to reward yourself. You have to visualize it and get rid of that negative chatter. And know progress over perfection, because nothing's perfect, okay? Catch me every Wednesday at 6 p.m. for Powerful and Mindful Living with Coach Renee. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you haven't already done so, please join in Facebook group Boss Ladies on a Journey to Limitless, and I mean limitless possibilities. And that's where all the fun is at. And follow me on Instagram. There's more fun there too. And remember, you have the ability to unstuck yourself, okay? And sometimes we got to call in the troops and get you some support, get you some help. Figure out who's your circle, because that also has a lot to do with it. All right? Make sure you make this a magical, magical, magical day. And know that your mindset matters. Everything starts with your thoughts. Make it a good one. Talk to you soon. Bye. Now we go so much deeper and cover so much more in the Exhausted to Empower Mindset program. Now click the link below to check out the free training, or click the link to schedule yourself a free breakthrough session.